Hour 24. You'd feel tired, foggy, a little irritable. Nothing you haven't felt before after a bad night. You'd think you can push through it. Hour 36. Your hands start trembling. You'd read the same sentence 4 times without understanding it. You'd look at a clock, and for a moment, genuinely cannot tell what the numbers mean. Hour 48. Something is following you at the edge of your vision. You know it isn't real, but you cannot stop seeing it. Hour 72. Scientists who studied people at this stage said something that changed how they understood the human brain forever. This is what 3 days without sleep actually does to your mind. To understand what happens when you remove sleep, you first need to understand what sleep actually does. Most people think sleep is rest, a pause, your body powering down for the night. It isn't. Sleep is the most active maintenance cycle your brain performs every night. While you think nothing is happening, your brain is doing something extraordinary. It opens a drainage system, discovered only in 2013. Scientists found that during sleep, your brain cells actually shrink by up to 60% to allow cerebrospinal fluid to flush through the spaces between them. This fluid washes out toxic waste products that accumulated during the day, including a protein called beta-amyloid, which is directly linked to Alzheimer's disease. Your sleeping brain is a cleaning machine, running every night, non-negotiable. When you don't sleep, the drain stops, the waste builds, and your brain begins to drown in its own toxic byproducts. The effects begin faster than almost anyone expects. Hour 17. You have now been awake for longer than most people's standard day. Studies show that at this point, your cognitive performance is equivalent to having a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. You are, legally speaking, too impaired to drive in many countries, and you have not touched a single drink. Decision-making slows. Reaction time drops. Emotional regulation begins to fail. Small frustrations feel enormous. Your brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thought, is the first region to suffer. Hour 4. Die without sleep. Your cognitive impairment now matches a blood alcohol level of 0.10%, legally drunk in every country on Earth. But here is what makes sleep deprivation uniquely dangerous compared to alcohol. You don't feel as impaired as you are drunk. People often know they are drunk. Sleep-deprived people are consistently terrible at judging how impaired they have become. Studies show that after 24 hours, subjects believed they were performing at 70 to 80% capacity. They were performing at 30%. The brain lies to itself, and you believe it. Here is something that will disturb you for a long time after watching this. In 1959, a radio DJ named Peter Tripp stayed awake for 201 hours over 8 days as a publicity stunt in Times Square. New York doctors monitored him around the clock. By day 3, Peter Tripp could no longer perform simple mathematical calculations he had memorized years earlier. By day 4, he opened a drawer and saw it filled with spiders that weren't there. By day 5, he became convinced that doctors monitoring him were actually a group of men trying to poison him. He ran from the building in genuine terror. Peter Tripp had no history of mental illness, no prior psychological conditions. He was simply ... awake. 3 days of no sleep had turned an ordinary man's mind into something unrecognizable, and he had no idea it was happening. Hour 36. Your brain is now making desperate decisions, unable to maintain full wakefulness. It begins doing something called microsleeps, involuntary shutdowns lasting 1 to 30 seconds. Your eyes may stay open, you may appear awake, but your brain has gone offline completely without your permission or awareness. Cliffs who fall asleep at the wheel almost never know it happened until the car leaves the road. Your emotional responses become extreme. Things that would normally cause mild frustration now produce rage. Things that would cause mild sadness now produce despair. The emotional volume knob is turned to maximum and you cannot turn it down. Hour 48. This is where the science becomes genuinely frightening. At 48 hours without sleep, the brain begins producing hallucinations indistinguishable from reality. Not dreamlike images, not vague shapes, clear, solid, three-dimensional experiences that your brain presents as real with no signal that they aren't. Subjects in studies described seeing people who weren't there, hearing conversations in empty rooms, feeling insects crawling on their skin, One subject described watching the walls breathe in and out for several minutes before the sensation faded. Your brain is not broken, it is starving. And a starving brain begins to generate its own reality to fill the gaps. But here's the thing almost no one talks about. You do not need 72 hours of sleep deprivation to experience significant brain damage. Research published in the journal Nature Neuroscience found that sleeping just 6 hours per night, instead of 8, for 2 weeks, produces cognitive impairment equivalent to 2 full nights of no sleep. As the same level of deficit accumulated gradually, INVISIBLY. And the subjects in this study, people sleeping 6 hours a night for 2 weeks, did not feel significantly impaired. They had adapted to the feeling of impairment. It had become their normal. Researchers called this a dangerous calibration error. Your brain tells you that you are fine. You'll believe it. But the tests show otherwise every single time. The most dangerous sleep deprivation is the kind you don't realize you're in. Hour 72.3 Full days without sleep. At this stage, documented cases show a complete dissolution of the boundary between waking and dreaming. Subjects enter what researchers call a waking dream state. Their eyes are open, they can move and speak, but the content of their mind is indistinguishable from REM sleep. They are dreaming with their eyes open. Physically, their body is now in crisis. Cortisol levels, the stress hormone, have been elevated for 3 days. The immune system is severely compromised. Core body temperature regulation begins to fail. Heart rate becomes erratic. Randy Gardner, a 17-year-old high school student, set the world record for documented sleep deprivation in 1964, staying awake for 11 days and 25 minutes under scientific supervision. By day 4, he could not remember the rules of simple games he had played his whole life. By day 6, he stood in front of a mirror and did not recognize his own reflection for several seconds. After his record-breaking sleepless period ended, Randy Gardner slept for 14 hours and 40 minutes. When he awoke, his cognition had largely, but not completely, recovered. Scientists studying his case concluded something remarkable. The human brain has a partial but not total capacity to recover from severe sleep deprivation. Some of what is lost does not fully come back. Sleep is the one thing the human body absolutely refuses to negotiate on. It can survive weeks without food, days without water, but the brain begins to fail within hours of losing sleep. And by day 3, the line between reality and hallucination disappears entirely. What the science of sleep deprivation teaches us is something profound about consciousness itself. Reality, the world you experience, the thoughts you think, the memories you form, is not a given. It is constructed, moment by moment, by a brain that requires maintenance to function. Take away that maintenance, and reality itself begins to dissolve. Peter Tripp came back. Randy Gardner came back. Most people who push this far come back, but every one of them described the experience the same way, not as tiredness, not as exhaustion, but as becoming someone else entirely, someone who happened to be living inside their body. Tonight, when you sleep, your brain will open its drain. It will flush the waste of the day. It will rebuild what the hours took apart. It has been doing this every night of your life, without asking for credit, without you knowing. If this changed how you think about something you do every single night, subscribe, because next week we go somewhere even darker than this.